Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Networks. And folks, put your defibrillators away here. For those there at home who are watching the Jaguars on the road do battle with the Colts. 23-17, your final. I still feel, Chip, somebody out there is going to go, Kyle, you said they win by 2 scores. Hey, I was still right. The score was just different. The opportunities shanked and shagged throughout the game. I said shagged, that's right, by the Jacksonville Jaguars were a frustrating thing to watch. I'm not even a member of the Duval Devout. Travis, I know what I want to get into to open with, but, how much, this is one of those where you say, well, this is what good teams do, all the stuff that they left out on the field. Wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm. It's what you say, but that doesn't make anyone feel better about it. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's keeping it a buck. Everybody's gonna say it was gritty, it wasn't pretty, and all the right things that they should say. The fact of the matter is, this was one of those games where you thought that there could be the potential for the Jaguars to come out not necessarily even flat, just not as dominant as we've seen against other teams as of late. And yeah, we talked about it all throughout the week on multiple of our podcasts, which we normally don't do. It's normally just the second one, the preview pod, that was going to be a question. Will they come out on fire being a front runner? And it's not to say that they didn't. I actually thought that they were reasonably clean, but they just had some boneheaded issues with whether situational issues or simply just not, playing in a dominant fashion, and specifically on the defense to start this thing early on. So we're obviously going to get into it, but yeah, this is what it was.
I love when the Duval Divers Preston here in the comments gets hyped by the things of here comes. I had to throw that in their comments. Robert,
and also just a second thing, I wanted to pat myself on the back. I said they would win by 7.
Well, yeah, you did say that, true. And what did I say had to happen? A Jaguars turnover. That also occurred too. Yeah,
two fourth quarter turnovers via the Jaguars after going through an entire game not having any by no fault. I mean, let's keep it a buck also on this part. They had so many balls hit their hands. Oh my gosh, Montero Brown. Just if you haven't seen the Big Cat Country write up or recap from the game, I'm gonna just share that right now. Montero Brown's my defensive player of the game. You can argue with your mama. Like, I know he doesn't have necessarily the pure stats. If you're just saying he didn't have an interception, he didn't. Nah, man, he shut down their primary.
He got some
a lot of PDs, and he absolutely shut down their top receiver. And he should have had probably 2, if not 3, interceptions in this game. And that's the craziest part about it. So he as a corner, I'm gonna give that man his respect because nobody else probably will until like Wednesday or Thursday of this week at best. So man, Montero Brown, shout out.
And for sure, Robert comes out of the gate. Robert Kemp, I gotta say, because we got so many Roberts in the comments saying cool things here amongst the Duval Divers. But this one kind of speaks to what I want to speak to. Robert Kemp in the comments says this was a character win. Liam with questionable decisions, the players with costly errors, and we still won. It was ugly on several fronts. And I got to say, there was a very smart man that set the table for me nicely for what was going on to the open of that game. Travis G. Holmes on Twitter pointed out that Trevor Lawrence opened the game on fire, going 6 for 6 for 61 yards on his way down the field to answer the quarterback after a little bit of iffy special teams play, which, by the way, a quiet factor, not mentioned a whole lot. It certainly felt like the Indianapolis Colts were able to get an awful lot on kickoff returns, but I digress.
That's been a season-long problem for the Jaguars. We just haven't talked about it. It's been a quiet thing that's just been going under the underbelly as far as the coverage units.
But it was extra today. You're not wrong. I think it was that and some.
We forgot the Jets game. It was a conversation in the Jets game because they had such a good returner. It was a conversation this game because they got back a good returner from injury who hasn't played as of late. And it's been an ongoing thing even since the bye week when I had the conversation with Heath Farwell talking about the coverage units. And we had a whole segment talking about it on the Duval Dive here about how bad the coverage units have gotten. They haven't necessarily gotten better. They just simply haven't given up those huge returns. So no one pays attention to coverage units unless it's a touchdown or something like that. Yeah. Right. Exactly. So it's been an issue all season long. And they got to the point in this game where they were just like, we're not playing with this. We're kicking the ball at the back of the end zone because this is enough. And so I think it's to a point now where they probably know it's an issue if they haven't already known. So
and listen, this is a big enough thing that got under Travis's skin so much that he interrupted himself. Let me put Travis's mentions back on the board so Travis can get through hearing it without Travis interrupting. It's Inception, Travis.
Yeah, man.
Anyways, Travis mentioned on Twitter going 6 for 6 opening the game. Trevor Lawrence, 61 yards. You were on a roll. And then you call this absolute bupkis. I have no idea why a hook and ladder is being called here. And granted, the backward pass was right in Travis Etienne's hand, his gut. Frankly, he drops it, gives the opportunity for the Colts to go up 2 scores. And I know that the correct answer is, Kyle, the play actually worked. The player fumbled the ball. That's true. And I know that Liam Coen works and lives in a place where players over plays. He trusts guys to do what they're supposed to do. I'm not dissing any of that. To diss any of the above is to then be thus very hypocritical of enjoying Liam Coen. But when we talk about Liam Coen being in his bag, overthinking it is what intelligent coaches do sometimes. And that is exactly what you're doing here. You are on a roll, 6 for 6. Hook and lateral is for desperate teams or teams that are fooling you to try to do a knockout punch. You were at neither state down 3-0 at the beginning of that football game. Now, I know your response is going to be, it worked. It never. Why? Why are you showing this level of play? Why are you doing anything to let this team in the game that'll play right uniquely into the hands of a crew? If you show this inferior, already eliminated, injury-battered team that has old man Rithers at quarterback hope, that's a mistake. And that's what happened here. Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny because
that's how
I don't necessarily disagree with you. And everything that you're saying is absolutely the emotions that I initially had during the game.
Yeah,
I can say that. I'm gonna be honest with you. All those emotions, like I'm yelling at all those things. Absolutely, I'm with you. But I can also acknowledge if it works, I'm punching the TV screen. I'm punching babies walking by. Like I'm ecstatic in all the ways. And because it reminds you of one of those Liam Coen things that you see other teams do that you just wouldn't see the Jaguars ever do, or a Ben Johnson kind of situation where, man, we'll never have fun things like that happen to the Jaguars, having an offensive lineman catch a touchdown pass, or all the just the funny things that you can just chuckle at and things of that nature. And I think that's kind of what they were going for. They knew they had this, and now they were just trying to have some fun and in the ways of still winning a football game, because if he catches that ball, probably picks up another 5 yards, or he's one-on-one with the cornerback on the edge. Like,
yeah,
I get it.
It's the timing of it that I think I'm criticizing the most. Everything you say is also correct. Listen, we've watched in past years the Kansas City Chiefs clearly in playoff control, leading in a game against the Raiders, do ring around the rosy before snapping the damn ball. I get it. That's a thing, okay? But this was not the time and place to call it. That's where
let me counter and let me push back just a little bit, because again, I hate the fact that I'm Mr. Pushback on this situation. But Radius, nice comment. All right, why does Travis celebrate by punching babies? I don't, but I know there's an alternate universe where someone does. But I will say this: if this is not the week that you practice to play like that, I don't think a week necessarily exists. And I want to be clear in saying that. Like, I want to be honest on both sides of this line and say, you're playing against an Indianapolis Colts team who just recently activated last week DeForest Buckner off of IR, to then immediately put him back on IR the following week with that same neck injury. So they're losing their primary internal pass rusher and one of the captains on their defense. They are eliminated from the playoffs recently this week. They didn't practice one day earlier this week instead of already being on a short week. Like, if there isn't an opportunity to practice those plays that you absolutely have installed in your playbook, that day does not exist. Like, you know what I mean? So I get it from both sides of the equation, saying that this team, if that play works against the Indianapolis Colts, they are distraught. They are probably mailing this bad boy in early in the first quarter. Like, I get why you would run it. It just didn't work. Travis Etienne drops that ball. If he catches that ball, everybody's happy and like, oh yeah, Liam's in his bag. And that's the only comment that's being made right now.
I see.
You disagree?
I would personally, and there's a reason why I tweeted the moment I did when I was on Twitter I quote tweeted you, why even run this? So you wouldn't think I was being a Monday morning quarterback about it. This is one of those, you've seen the movie Major League where he makes the basket catch at the beginning. I'm going to get a clip of that so I can play this every time this comes up. But I can't say what Lou Brown actually says to Willie Mays Hayes after he does that basket catch. He says to him, nice catch, Hayes. Don't ever beep, do it again. That would have been my response.
See, it's funny to me, man, because everybody's freaked out. Everybody's like wild in these streets saying some really crazy things. And I'm just over here laughing. Like, because again, you guys have heard me. It's not like I'm private with my thoughts. We have a whole podcast where we talk about your thoughts, my thoughts, our thoughts. I've been telling y'all all week this was going to be a dogfight. As much as folks thought I was crazy, I've been saying it this whole time. This is not the type of quarterback that we generally just play well against, and especially then you add the fact that you can't let this Jonathan Taylor team get into a groove. Yeah. Right. So then you have to add an additional guy to the box. That then works against the role of what you're trying to do. You have a quarterback who knows where to put the ball, who don't have the arm strength to put it there. So Campanelli is going to have to move his defense up. Like, he didn't do that early on, and that's what allowed them to move up and down the field. Like, all the things that I thought would happen, happened. And that's not me patting myself on the back. It's just to say, nah, man, this team is who we think they are. We have 17 weeks of tape to say this is who this team is. And that is what they struggle against. Cool. Now they have to counter, because playoff football is starting and teams will do what you just showed on film you struggling against. And speaking of that, can we get into this this dime to Jacoby Myers?
We can, because it was. But the last thing I'll say, there's no time to run the play, is your retort. I say no. It's if you were ahead in this game, you run that. Not when you're going 6 for 6 opening the damn game and you ain't showing no signs.
Don't take your guys off of their groove or whatever. Don't take them out of the groove, basically.
Or even especially against the Tennessee Titans. They ain't going to believe in themselves anyway. Might as well have some fun with it. Yeah, I'm saying they should run in a week 18. But anyways, yeah, no, let's get in that time, because that was a badass catch.
Maybe. Well, the reason I want to talk about the dime to Jacoby Myers is not necessarily because of the throw, which was incredible. If you haven't seen it, he puts it over diving coverage from the DB. Like, it was really dang good coverage. No room at all on the ground. Jacoby Myers brings the ball in, and Trevor Lawrence puts the ball in an impossible spot. Like, across the board, it was a really good play. But also, Trevor Lawrence is getting hit as that ball is let go. And I'm like, yo, like that, he has a guy in his face. He can't even step into it.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Because they were pressuring him so much throughout this game where it was absolutely something that was felt. And that was the piece that I really walked away with. Not necessarily that, not necessarily that it was an incredible throw, which it was, but more importantly, man, you felt the Colts pressure. You felt the Colts blitz. Like, Trevor Lawrence started this game off early. I said it. He was 6 of 6 on that opening drive. He started off being 14 of 16 in the first half. And then you got to the second half of the game where he ended up being 9 for 21. That second 9 for 21 is the conversation. That's what I'm talking about. That's the one I'm focusing on is, hey, will future teams do exactly what the Indianapolis Colts just put on film against the Jacksonville Jaguars struggling? Yes, the Jaguars were struggling, missing multiple interior offensive linemen. You're missing your starting center, Robert Hainsey. You're missing your starting right guard, Patrick McCarry. And I know some Jaguar fans will argue that that's an improvement by subtraction, whatever. Whatever. He was not playing today, and you could tell, you could feel the interior pressure. You could feel the hits on Trevor Lawrence, who was hit at one point in the first half like 7 times, which is normally a stat for a game is pretty bad. 7 quarterback hits in the first half of a game is pretty rough. They were blitzing the hell out of him, and that's a big thing that I'm like, they're going to have to shore that up and prove to teams that they can blitz or that they can block these guys when they're blitzing on the inside, or you're going to see a lot more of that Duval. And that's my big takeaway from that game and from the second half of the game specifically.
Yeah. And so I'm going to play your role that you played in the previous segment on this one, because everything you say is absolutely correct. Will they look at film? Did the Colts provide the blueprint in a close game? I don't know how you provide a blueprint for Liam Coen getting too fancy and putting his team in a bind and then immediately following it up, whichever throwing an interception. But cool. By the way, I'm going to say this because there's going to be a lot of Liam Coen criticism from me on this episode for that one thing. Liam Coen is on track to be literally the best coach in Duval history for the NFL, right? That he's on his way to potentially be the best Jacksonville Jaguar coach that was, okay? He's still got a while to catch up to Coughlin. I get all that, okay? But he is that guy. I am overwhelmingly aware of that. But you and I both have certain things that we remember that we didn't like that Coughlin did. This is just the first one of those things that I'm going to remember that Liam Coen did that I didn't like. And it's okay. He's still the dude that's turning a franchise around to a 12-win team. Now that I got that out of the way.
You could say a dude is incredible and also say he still like crapped the bed on one of his career days. Like I can say this dude is the best quarterback in the history of the NFL, but also what the hell was that game that he played on Thursday or Saturday or whatever the day is? Like those aren't like mutually exclusive conversations. So Liam Coen is a great offensive coordinator who has done so well in leading this team and organizing these guys and keeping that fire bubbling underneath that locker room. But he also had multiple situations where they simply were not the situational masters that they want themselves to be in a week by week basis. And I think you had the concern with the early lateral call. I had the concern with the 4th down call when they went for it when they ran the ball on third and 4 and then went for it on 4th and 1 when you're in a situation where you can easily just take the lead right there. Like I didn't love that. Jarian Jones bailed him out.
Yeah. And by the way, I even hated the play call there in question too. That was an awfully long one in the 3rd and 1. That was not a quarterback sneak worthy. I hated all of the above right there with you along with that. I just opened the segment with the one I could find the video on. But you mentioned this blueprint. Will other teams run that? And again, I believe that that's a thing. Teams will copy each other to attack a weakness. I think that's true. Here's the problem. People keep saying, oh, well, why didn't other people take the Giants blueprint and attack the Patriots back when? It's because not everybody had that damn defensive line. Quite literally, I don't know many NFL franchises that can lose DeForest Buckner and still come at you with Franklin and Grover Stewart, who are still a pair of bad mamma jammas in their own right. Travis, that is not abundantly available in this NFL, okay?
That's fair, but most NFL franchises in the playoffs will more likely than not have that kind of roster, at least. Not everyone, but a lot of the playoff rosters, you will see they'll have a good defensive lineman, multiple good defensive linemen, or one defensive lineman and defensive end.
Specifically, by the way, too, like it's specifically the interior I'm talking about. Not a lot of because those guys just don't. Nobody wants to pay a lot of money for guys all that good. Not a lot of teams have a depth like that. And at this time of the year, who all is healthy? Maybe you could say the Texans might be that stout in the middle. That's who comes to mind. The Seahawks.
Interesting. You say the Texans because that probably is going to be who the Jaguars have. As it currently stands, obviously the Bills are still playing the Eagles as we're talking right now, so we don't know the outcome of that game. Let's say the Eagles beat the Bills, then Jacksonville opens the playoffs more likely than not with the Bills. If the Jaguar, by
the way, last I heard. Side note, go ahead. Sorry.
So if the Bills beat the Eagles, then Jacksonville's opening the playoffs with those exact same Houston Texans that we will definitely then be having a conversation about next week. So that is the question. But
thanks, Chargers, for not handling business anyway.
You'd never depend on other teams when you can depend on yourself. The Jaguars only have themselves to look at in that mirror. A 19-point comeback is that same thing that the Texans are saying turned around their season. But again, shout out Jarian Jones for bailing out that what I call a bad play call on 4th down. And shout out to Eric Murray for tipping the ball to make it an easier interception for Jarian. Shout out to both of those guys, man. Great plays. And then I saw Liam Coen obviously didn't play around following that interception and definitely took the points on the next series, taking the lead. So great work there, guys. Overall, it is what it is. Like I thought, but wait. How did you feel about Trevor's game though? Like again, we just talked about it by half, but I don't know that we actually talked about before leaving the offensive kind of part of the conversation. How did you feel about his game?
I think you alluded to it, and I'm in a very much the same boat. Like I think this is one where the box score watchers are going to point out the fact he didn't have 300 yards passing, but I don't think that was the role here. I don't think that was the necessarily the game plan. per se. They took a couple shots to BTJ. Not many of them were there. It was all the mid-passing game with Brenton and Jacoby, right? Brenton Strange and Jacoby Myers for the most part.
Parker was your leading receiver, 115 dang yards.
Yeah, you beat me there. And he's also the leader in Yak once again. It's not and by the way, this is not a criticism of one Parker Washington. This is me giving Parker Washington his credit. See, it's so awkward to read that on Twitter and then try to say it out loud, right? But no. Hey, listen, I live in a world where Parker out there somewhere as well. I get it. The reason why
they found a really good role for him, though. They really have
100%. I don't count Parker as a Trevor success, beyond being able to place him to allow to move in space. When Parker Washington moves in space, that's Parker Washington's success. So that's why I kind of list him later. They find him spots in the middle passing game. Trevor gets him the ball. But Parker makes a lot of plays after that, and you should be given credit for that.
Oh, facts. Oh no, that's a Liam Coen. Like Parker Washington's success is heavily based around Liam Coen getting him to space, but also Trevor Lawrence accurately putting the ball on him.
Absolutely.
Because when Trevor Lawrence doesn't accurately put the ball on him, let's say that high throw that he threw in the third quarter, that Parker has to climb the ladder, but it was only a 2-yard catch. But if he puts it on his chest, Parker's then able to probably make that cornerback miss the tackle, and he's going to end up picking up 15, 20 yards. Those are the reasons that I still will give Trevor Lawrence, 20% of the credit. Liam Coen, 50% of the credit, and the rest going to Parker Washington, because it's a combined effort from all of those guys in that way. That's still a pat on the back for Trevor Lawrence accurately hitting this guy. Because in past years, we would say, hey, man, Trevor Lawrence, you're throwing it to the wrong shoulder. You're throwing it high. You're doing all these things that's making it hard to get. Yeah, we literally said that earlier this season when he was throwing those short passes to Travis Hunter. So it's progress from Trevor's perspective, at least from my perspective towards Trevor. It's progress.
Good take, 100% all the way around. And I would even add this aspect as well. Like, gosh, looking at the Colts sheet, they only have 2 sacks. It felt like there was a lot more.
It was a lot of hits, but a lot of Trevor getting the ball out while taking hits. And that was why I say you felt the pressure, even though the sacks were only 2. Trevor's quarterback rating, again, was a 72.2, and that feels bad mainly because of that INT. The INT, if you guys saw it, it was a late throw by Trevor, and it stinks because he actually had probably a back shoulder fade if he wanted it earlier on. But you're going in at the halftime. You got 15 seconds left. You can't put that ball out late in that scenario on second down, because that's your second turnover in the red zone in a game where you're down 3 points. And that would at least take you into the half with a tied game. But that was another reason why. One, I thought that was one of his only, or maybe if not only, biggest mistakes easily, but also one of the biggest concerns that I had with Liam going forward on 4th down and inside of the 25-yard line, because now you've had 2 red zone turnovers in the same game where you could have walked away with at least 6 points, if not 2 touchdowns, realistically, because they both were on early downs. And then you turn the ball over on downs in field goal range, an easy field goal range.
Yeah.
This game could have easily been a blowout if the Jaguars truly wanted it to be one, if that makes sense.
Which is exactly what I predicted happened. I was just robbed of it by Liam Coen and Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I did not.
I was robbed of it.
I listen. Even the Beastie Boys don't sing about this level of sabotage. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, no. I'll even add this. You make the point that maybe, it was a late throw if you're looking for that back shoulder. I'm there. What I kind of feel like was happening, and I could be completely wrong, I feel like Trevor saw the mismatch with a 52, a dude as big as Brett, covering that receiver. Was it Parker? I thought it was Parker.
Yes, Parker.
I didn't think he got enough loft on it. I think that's a ball that should have ended up in the corner if you're trying to beat an air quotes slower guy. And it didn't.
But that still means it's late. He doesn't have the space. I wish I just still had it up. He doesn't have the space to put it into the corner at the time that he threw it, basically. So he would have needed to go earlier.
He made it tighter than it needed to be. I feel like there's an opportunity for a toe drag swag out of the back of the end zone. Maybe he would have been out of bounds, and it was late, 100%. I think that late throw added that other element to, or perhaps Trevor underthrew it more than he would have liked because he was worried about that back boundary. Perfect point you make there too. But I feel like it was clearly the wrong throw. And the other thing is Pratt had a height advantage there. I think that was a factor as well. So trying to clear him and then land that in over behind to Washington would have been tough.
I think so. No, Chris Jags fan 95 makes a good point there. Like the Jaguars were 2-5 in the red zone. Indy didn't stop the Jaguars. We drove all the way and gave it away. And again, two of those turnovers were turnovers on first or second down.
Right.
That's it. Like it's not even saying like, hey, you gave it away on third down trying to make something happen. You went to turnover on downs on one of them. But that was a decision that was made because you ran it on third down. So you decided on third down, if you didn't get it, you were going for it on fourth down. That was a decision. That was just a bad one, in my opinion. But wait, I don't get paid millions of dollars to make the decision. Robert Kemp says Monteric had his hands on about 4 balls today.
I counted 3, but 4 could be true. Yeah.
Yeah, back-to-back games of him being initially beat, but turning his head and finding the ball to knock it away the last seconds, like against Cortland Sutton. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah, it looked that there was one big bat down to Pierce. I felt that looked exactly like that play, and had they completed it, would have been a very crucial moment in the game. Once again, negated by Busta getting up there and busting the play up. You know.
Reyes also points out the Yahoo Sports, I believe it was, notification that they put out there after the game was over that Liam Coen is the first NFL head coach in history with a 12-win season after taking over a team with 4 or fewer wins, which, Jesus, that's rough. That says everything, but not just about Liam Coen. It also says everything about the old regime. Let's be clear about that.
A lot about
that's not just a coaching stat. That's not just a general manager stat. It's not just a player stat. Like it's across the board because Liam Coen didn't obviously do this by himself. He did it with the organization of the guys around him, whether that's Tony Baselli, EVP, and whether that's James Gladstone, who, for whatever reason, people are still giving smoke because of the status of his draft class and the injury situation with his draft class. But at the end of the day, he's still bringing in these guys, and this roster does not look that way unless they have a general manager who's backing Liam Coen in that way. So that is a Liam Coen stat. That is also a stat on Trent Baalke, yes, and Doug Peterson, who obviously did not have these guys back in the ways that they probably needed. Otherwise, they would have had more success also. So across the board, it's a great season by him. It ain't over. Pat yourself on the back, but come Tuesday, we still talking about this dang Titans and making sure they win that game because you know what's next. Playoffs.
Playoffs? Wait, I need to stop being. I think I just did that only because they played the Colts. So, and again, I mentioned it myself on Friday, and maybe even before the bad juju of Lucas Oil Stadium maybe crept its way in, but nonetheless, the resolve was found by the Jags, and hey, 12-4 is what you see. I would have thought this an even crackheadier take than them winning the division back in August, but here, in fact, we are. Apparently, it was always the Jags. That's what I'm supposed to say, right?
Something like that is because it is always the Jags. It's Jazz versus the Jags, and the Jazz found a way to beat the Jags in a lot of this game, but then they found a way to beat the Jags in the end. So Jaguars on top. That's what it is. So
the Jaguars got the Jaguars to save themselves from themselves.
Absolutely, okay. That's exactly what it was. They just figured it out and got their shoes out of their own behind, and then or their head out of their own behind, and they figured it out.
Why not both?
And someone on the pod this week, and I'm sorry I don't remember the name. If it was you, again, shout out. Let us know in the chat on YouTube that the difference in this game was going to be Trevor Lawrence's legs. I had him as my X factor this week, saying that I thought that's what took over the Denver game.
Yeah.
But someone said designed runs were going to be the difference. And I said, interesting, because I thought the Jaguars had already been doing this for a few weeks.
I had actually said I didn't want design runs. I wanted improvised ones that turned into something. But apparently Liam Coen agreed with the commenter. There's even a short on the Duval Dive YouTube channel.
Yeah, he surely did. And again, they had the 2 touchdowns from Trevor Lawrence using his legs. On one of them designed runs. The other one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was a pass play that ended up resulting in a run. But nevertheless, it's just the same difference of teams not being able to play full coverage and not being able to fully rush because they're scared of Trevor Lawrence. Because on multiple of those plays, the successful pass plays and even the the running plays, you will see there's a guy sitting back spying Trevor Lawrence because they don't want to allow him that ability to kind of keep this game over, being their efficient game changer, I guess we'll say, using his legs. So they're sitting back and rushing 3, or they're sitting back an extra guy and rushing 4, and then that gives you the positive benefit in the passing game. They can't do both things, and that's the part that makes this real interesting.
Yeah, the part I want to bring up, and people have been critical of the offensive line on this show, us included, but there were certain plays as well where they blasted some holes open and made Grover Stewart look like that dude on Sesame Street. I am your cunning little friend Grover. Like that last. That's right. I did a Sesame Street voice. By the way, Grover Stewart, if you watch this show, I know about that voice because I have kids. Please don't hurt me. So no, but with all that in mind, listen, there were a few times though where Parker Washington, Walker Little, and Robert Hainsey were pushing dudes straight down the field. Like, I know Ezra Cleveland went from like completely getting obliterated in one play, and then there's that opinion too. But Ezra Cleveland even had some struggles in the game. But I know on the last on the last quarterback sneak, he just had Stewart backwards on skates. So, but that's what you're going to get against these guys, I think.
No, I think that's fair. And like now, a lot of the guys want to have that exact same conversation.
Just discussing my fault. Yeah,
I understand. That's been the conversation of what is this offensive line going to be come playoff time when you're going against the more dominant teams with the interior defensive line, which we won't know that answer today because again they played with 2 guys down. And Timmy says, I think Monheim doesn't know how to do all the checks that Hainsey can do at the line. It's just being green.
Timmy, I like that thought. And here's we need more evidence to support that. Part of it again is Franklin and Stewart are just that damn good in the middle, man. Pause. So, like, with all that in mind, hey, if I had mentioned penetration, it would have been worse. No, but with that defensive tackle core, there you go. With that defensive tackle core, they really are that stout. They are a force to stop. This isn't some weak, sorry line making Falarantu Fatukasi as a Texan look good in a bad moment, like I've criticized in years past. Shouts to
they didn't hit my key to the game of getting Travis Etienne as 25 touches, but that's also because they did try to get DJ Dallas a lot more involved than I originally thought was going to happen. And shout out to DJ Dallas. Like, I just didn't see that one coming, especially after recently being signed. But they used him in the Travis Etienne role instead of more LaQuint Allen, which, again, that's not a bad thing. It actually worked very well on a few rushes this game. The DJ had 2 rushes for 21 yards on that one series that allowed the Jaguars to keep running. Actually, I don't know if that was a touchdown drive or a field goal drive, honestly. But, yeah, it was a
scoring drive.
Yeah, it was a scoring drive, nevertheless. And then DJ Dallas had himself a reasonably solid game. So again, that's 3 attempted touches for DJ Dallas, and Etienne had 17 carries and 3 targets in the passing game. So that's 20 overall attempts, and 17 carries for 76 yards. So he averaged 4.5 yards a carry. That's probably the best you're going to hope for against this Colts team, even missing DeForest Buckner. I think that's pretty reasonable. Yes. They just didn't win the game early on because they kept leaving those points on the field. Had they, then they probably would have hit 25 touches for Travis Etienne. I truly do believe that. They were just down. They had to keep passing the ball because that's where they were having their success.
Yeah, no, I think that's accurate. One thing I'm seeing here, Big Diesel in the comments. You had a few good comments today, by the way, Diesel. Good job. It was clear Hainsey means so much more to this offense than we thought, as those pressure leagues from not picking up stunts and blitzes. It wasn't just those defensive tackles winning. Here's the thing, bud. They were missing stunts with Hainsey in the lineup.
That's facts. Thank you.
So I maybe I'm giving too much credit to the defensive tackles. I won't rule that out, but they were missing stunts before Monheim was at the helm.
The communication between the center and the guards this season has always been a problem. I just always thought it was a guard issue, and I say a guard issue when I'm primarily talking about I'm primarily talking about Patrick McCarry when I say that, because I
Very
thought
good.
Ezra Cleveland's actually been reasonably stout in their communication. But yeah, they were having these issues with whether it was like when Hainsey was there, when it was Hainsey and Little or Hainsey and McCarry, but basically it was always still involving Hainsey. So that you can't just put it all on the rookie Monheim just simply because he is a new guy. Nah,
Yeah.
man, this has been an ongoing issue that's been on tape, and they're just finally another team that's smart enough to do it.
I mean, hell, just as recently as last week against the Broncos, all sorts of stuff was getting missed, and there was a lot of interior pressure that was coming through. The difference was it felt like the Jags were escaping last week better than they were this week. Take for that what you will.
Well, because that's Trevor Lawrence's ability to escape on the inside. He's been doing a lot of those, they would have had a lot more sacks if Trevor Lawrence didn't use his legs in the way that he was using them, like lots of pressure, which is what Big Diesel said earlier. Lots of pressure and running from Trevor Lawrence is why sacks front like 8. I don't know if it's necessarily 8, but I will agree with you that Trevor was escaping inside. Yeah. Trevor was escaping inside frequently to try to extend these plays, and that's what made it so that the pressure numbers didn't look as bad as they're probably going to look bad this week, just when you get the actual just pressures.
Sure.
But the sack numbers didn't look ridiculous because of Trevor Lawrence's pocket awareness.
I'll even say they look worse this week than last week. And if you want to say that they look bad last week but look super bad this week, and it's because Hainsey, okay, cool. The point is, they still be struggling with them stunts. Like anyway.
Yes, communication is a problem there with struggling with with picking up those stunts. And someone, I forget who it was, and I'm sorry, I lost it in the chat at one point or another, said Trevor Lawrence might be one of the most dangerous running quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And I actually think that's fair because they didn't use it as much earlier in the season. They used it in the Seattle game and the Kansas City game, and then stopped using it for a few weeks, and now they're leaning back into it. Well, yeah, exactly. And now they're leaning more back into it, which I think is real interesting because it feels very much to me like using the best parts of Jalen Hurts' game without the tush push, if you know what I mean. Like,
that's fascinating.
Because I'm just looking at a team that won the Super Bowl just last year, and they weren't necessarily like they were absolutely top to bottom the better team on the field, but they offensively weren't necessarily like this incredible unit. They just were efficient in the situational awareness. They were efficient in making sure they picked up third and shorts, and they were good at using their quarterback to level the playing field against the defense in those 11-on-11 matchups, because you got to account for his legs on those third down scenarios. And I see the Jaguars doing a lot of that because they're forcing the defense to apply an extra guy to Trevor Lawrence, when most defenses work because you have 11-on-10, not accounting for the quarterback. And now they got to account for this dude on nearly every third down to try to run the ball. It's just changing the math a little bit. And I'm appreciating them do it as long as it keeps Trevor Lawrence healthy. That's the last part of that equation.
And, we're having one of those comments why I'm super. First of all, shouts to friend of the show, Mike Clinton, calling out the Duval divers. There's 30 people chaps in chat, and there's only 11 likes on the stream. Let's go, y'all. Click that like button, says Mike Clinton. It's not me saying it. It's Mike Clinton saying it. So shouts to Mike Clinton.
That's a dang fair point. But Josh, someone said the PT says the edges were playing well.
I want to PT, and even Diesel says he was fired up about the stunts conversation. I don't mind it. Diesel, you're absolutely right, buddy. You're good, dude. Let me jump in,
man.
He
said the edges were playing well, and I'm like, nah, man. Trevon was moving folks, and Josh Hines Allen even had the play where he freaking launched the offensive lineman into Phillip Rivers.
There is nothing more humiliating as an offensive lineman than to be the guy that causes the MFing sack. Okay, this is why this isn't a parody anymore, because one superhero, one man, pressures man, pushed an offensive lineman into Old Man Rivers and humiliated him outright in a very important moment in the game. Okay.
Man, why y'all calling that man Old Man Rivers? That's still Uncle Phil. I don't care what y'all say. That's Uncle Phil. That is white Uncle Phil. Y'all see that man had the whole baseball team in the press box cheering for him? I mean, that was his family, but it was
baseball team. See, I thought that was a full G League basketball lineup. But he had guards and post players.
Whatever it was, I was like, yo, that's a lot of people. That's your family. That's your whole family. Jesus. All right, cool. No, but the Jaguars, like they should, to your original earlier point, like they should have blown the Colts out. But there are no style points in the NFL. Like it is what it is. Like this is not the college football playoffs. That does not matter how you win. And I said it on Friday's Duval dive as in my closing. I don't care if you win by 1. I don't care if you win by 7. I don't care if you win by 35. At the end of the day, get the W. Will let the people in the media, which I am part of, will let the fan base and everyone else discuss and argue about how it should have been better, because that's so great to do that after a victory. You got the victory. Now y'all can rah-rah and everything else and just celebrate the victory despite the fact that it wasn't as dominant as you wanted it to be while being the number 1 team in the AFC. Fingers crossed, you'll be able to maybe make some moves depending on what happens in week 18, maybe be that 2nd seed. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think the Jaguars are still in a good spot no matter what happened, and you're in a good situation because you're complaining about a team after a victory.
One question that pops up, man, Diesel, you are it's a good thing you're named Diesel because you're igniting a lot of good conversation here, my man. I went full dad joke on that. I didn't think of this, but I think he's on to something. Diesel in the comments says, we really miss Tootin. I feel his speed threat out of the backfield keeps defenses honest too. More specific, here's the caveat I'll add. When there were more horizontal runs, like to the outside, I really felt like the Colts were ready for all of them. Not all of them, but
I hated them all. I hated them all. I can't name one horizontal, one sideline to sideline rush that I like this game. Like on each of them, I'm like, dude, why are we not doing the toss cutback, or why are we not doing more just straight outside zones? But it's straight sideline to sideline. I was just like, this is not going to work against this Colts team. I just felt like it was a waste of a play at that point.
Preston in the comments, Pro Bowl rant or save it for later? Listen, if y'all wearing teal, make sure you make your appeal. These cats need votes. We can talk about it here on the Duval Dive all we want, but you got to get out there and vote, y'all.
Is he talking about the Pro Bowl voting that's already done? Is that what we're referencing? I'm so confused.
Are you
talking about the Cam Little situation? The fact that Cam's not in the Pro Bowl, meanwhile, Dicker the kicker out there just peeing on himself on national television, missing an extra point and a chip shot field goal to make his team lose by 4. I'm not sure which part of the Pro Bowl rant he's discussing, but all of it's probably reasonable at this point.
But yes, all the things.
Yeah, like they got one Pro Bowler on this team that's now won 12 games. That's 3rd in the AFC, and you have one Pro Bowler, and he's your long snapper on special teams. That means you have no offensive and no defensive Pro Bowlers. But also, this is probably not the game to make that argument for the Jaguars. As much as I would love to play, just playing both sides of the coin, this is probably not the game to make the argument that we deserve more Pro Bowlers. Meanwhile, we barely beat the Indianapolis Colts after fumbling the bag on so many occasions this match.
Unless you're referring to Jacoby Myers making those great catches, Parker Washington with the yak, or even Busta Brown making his.
So are we arguing that Busta Brown and Parker Washington should be Pro Bowlers and as a receiver and as a cornerback? Is that the argument we're making,
sir? Like, and yeah, I think Montero Brown should be a Pro Bowler, don't you? I don't know.
But also, man, I'm very happy that the Jacksonville Jaguars are walking out of Indianapolis with that gritty, that difficult, that like it definitely wasn't dominant. But that they found a way to just squeak by with that cardiac road victory. But I also just am ecstatic to see this because of how close it was. You know, they got work to do. You know what I mean? Like, you know that they have work to do. There is a 0% chance that these guys are sitting in that locker room being like, yeah, we can do this every week. Like, or we feeling real comfortable in what this is. You know what I mean? Like, if there was any question about whether or not Liam Coen would be fired up in trying to get these guys ready for next week and for the playoffs, it should be gone at this point, if that makes sense, because you know that they're looking at this film like, damn it, we screwed this up so many times and we made this so much closer than it needs to be. And that will allow this coaching staff to keep that fire in these guys and not let them get too comfortable, if that makes sense.
See, what's beautiful about that, Travis, is after the Jags beat the Broncos last week, National and Bronco media were aflame. I mixed up media and Twitter. That was weird. The Broncos and national media were aflame, talking about maybe the Broncos needed to get punched in the mouth. Maybe the Jags got that experience without the media harping on it because they won the game. And I think that's what you're hoping for happens.
It's happened multiple times this year. Like where the Jaguars, I say that I think they're going to come out and be a little bit flat, or I think there's at least the concern that they could come out being a little bit of flat. And I'm not saying they came out flat this game. I think they just messed up a lot. Like they just fumbled the bag in a few situations that they simply should not. They historically have been actually very good situational masters, and I think they just failed in a lot of those high leverage situations on this Sunday. I want to be clear in saying that. I don't think they came out flat, but I did still think there was the potential that they wouldn't rise to the occasion, if that makes sense. And they didn't early on in this game.
And I think that's why I think that's why the point is different than just coming out flat, right? Like, hey, y'all humpy bumpies can't be beating yourselves because you almost got beat by Uncle Phil. There, you feel better. Like, you know, you almost got beat by Uncle Phil in a game that actually, I'm going to air quotes, mattered. This ends now, right? Just my thought.
I mean, right. I mean, but right. That's where I'm landing at this bad boy. Like again, that's why I say we've had so many of these situations where we're just questioning whether or not this team are going to be good as being front runners. I think that's pretty much reasonably answered. Even this game helped me answer that question. I think that yes, this team can be a good front running team. We've seen it consistently enough since the bye week to know that this is probably the real product of this team. Not this for this week against Indianapolis, just this team since the bye is pretty much the true standard of what this team is. But you can still beat yourself via multiple penalties on the wrong drive, pushing yourself back when you basically got the game wrapped up, or via bad situational play calls. That's looking at you, the head coach. I'm just being real about that. Or bad late throws on timely situations where you're the running back of not catching the ball on the lateral, or you're the quarterback throwing the ball late into the defender's hands with 15 seconds before the half. Like these are situations where you're leaving 17 points on the field, literally 17 points on the field in just those 3 plays. And that's what I'm talking about when I say, all right, cool. You're not so dominant as much as you might be feeling good about yourself for beating the Broncos last week. That's not your Super Bowl. And you're not so dominant that you can't beat yourself. The Colts didn't beat you. You almost beat yourself, but good job with that victory. Go home and come back and get on top of this because we got a hell of a lot of work to do.
My favorite thing is we haven't mentioned officiating once in this edition of the Duval Dive, and we could have pointed several things out. We're not gonna, but we could have. And that I think is showing just of what we've seen from this team in 2025.
No, I mean, I guess that's fair. I mean, I'm not going to be the one harping on regular penalties that happen in a normal NFL game. These refs were kind of ridiculous, but they have been just because they don't have full-time refs, and sometimes that just sucks in the NFL. To the point where Coen, I love that. Like he's like, "Are you effing drunk?" He yelled that to the refs.
Okay. I put it out on Twitter. I'm pretty sure I just saw Coach Steve go. Okay.
It very, very clearly looked like he yelled that. Again, I'm not a lip reader professionally, and I'm not saying 100% chance that he said it, but I'm just saying from my amateur lip reading skills, I would think that it very much seemed like he says, "Are y'all effing drunk?"
And I can confirm that this impression was left upon me as well. So there you go. The Duval Diver host core, both. Which is funny, but go ahead. Sorry.
That was just, it was a weird game for them, but it was a weird game across the board. But hey, man, the Jaguars won. They won. They closed out the Colts, and they have an opportunity to close out the Titans and to avoid the situations that's happened in 2023. And you guys remember 2023 when the Jaguars started the season off on fire and then get to the last game of the season and lose against the Tennessee Titans. I'm not speaking into existence. I'm reminding folks of history. Because never get too high, never get too low. At the end of the day, the Jaguars have to show up next week, just like they had to show up today, or they will have a very, very weird way of having to go into the postseason. So I do hope that the Jaguars are ready. I hope they get their rest in, eat their Wheaties, and be ready to face these Tennessee Titans to claim their title to the AFC South next week.
Hey, man, listen, that take was pure electricity. That's why you're keeping everybody grounded. Boom. There you go. Big Diesel talking about finishing with your best foot forward. I think every team, most especially your Jacksonville Jaguars, are trying to do precisely that. With that in mind, Travis D. Holmes, tell the world where you can be found, my friend.
I can be found on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. Most importantly, you can find me at bigcatcountry.com, and now check out the post-game recap featuring all your advanced data, all your stats, a lot of the highlights of the game, and just how our lingering thoughts coming out of that matchup, and any breaking news throughout the week. If you're listening to the sound of my voice on the Duval Dive YouTube, please click that like button. Please comment on the stream. Help us out tremendously. Again, we're approaching 1,000 subscribers. I know I just said, just like, wasn't it like 3 days ago when I said we're approaching 900? Yeah, we passed that. Like, we passed that. We are approaching 1,000 subscribers at this point. So if you are listening to this pod on the YouTube side and you have not clicked that subscribe button to get your notifications, do something better with your life. But also, we appreciate you. We appreciate you listening. But also, click that button, man. Help us out there. But if you listen to us on the audio side via the Believe Podcast Network, we appreciate them guys so much. They're helping us grow this thing. Please rate and review us there. And continue following along to join the party, man, because it's getting crazy out in these Duval streets, and we're about to be a playoff team, possibly AFC South champion team, going into this postseason in Jacksonville, hosting some playoff games. So lock it in, man. Travis D. Holmes on all the socials, bigcatcountry.com, and please let them know where you can be found, sir.
Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Robert Kemp, another news. The Chargers suck. Listen, first of all, shouts to my friends at the Electric Edge podcast. My girl Taylor Bloom is the ultimate Charger fan. I tweeted at her as she was at the game in person on behalf of the Duval Devout. You all had one job. So I'll leave that at that. But yeah, of course, check out my work as well on Facebook as a student of the game, as well as my coverage of the UCF Knights with the Black and Gold Banner-rated Night Shift podcast. And hey, guys, listen, for the Scouting Depot, I covered the Pop-Tarts Bowl that featured BYU and Georgia Tech and saw Jacksonville Jaguar umbrella. That's a thing that happened. This is how much it's starting to spread. I know respect ain't coming, but it's funny. And as I was walking past that tent going into Camping World Stadium, Travis, somebody asked him about it. He's like, yep, the best the team's been in 31 years. I'm like, I don't know how. Sure. So with that being said, by the way, Orlando, Florida, Camping World Stadium. Not in Duval, not in Everbank, Camping World Stadium. Anyway, so for my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, all you Duval divers laying the damn thing down in the comments, and everybody else within the sound of my voice is Kyle Nash, student of the game. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.